Everybody's screaming, everyone's crying. So what's the occasion? Well, Congresswoman Omar got voted off the Foreign Affairs Committee.
The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in favor say no. No. It's the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and the resolution is agreed to. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Does that remind you of anything? McCarthy yanked Omar off Foreign Affairs to pay back Pelosi for yanking his people off committees. He didn't want to do it, doesn't think it's right, but he had to do it. You can't let Democrats boot your boys off committees and turn the other cheek. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Consistency. There is nothing consistent with the Republican Party's continued attack except for the racism and incitement of violence against women of color in this.
She came to this country as a refugee. America fed her, clothed her, gave her welfare, gave her an education, gave her health care, and then handed her a seat in the United States Congress. And what did she do with it? She called America a terrible place. No gratitude, no appreciation, just contempt for the country that gave her everything. Today, the House voted to remove her from the Foreign Affairs Committee, and what happened next on that floor was one of the most unhinged meltdowns this country has ever seen on live television. Screaming, tears, accusations of racism, white supremacy, all over one committee seat. Stay right there. You need to see every second of this.
The world is clapping.
I'm in a town where we have a lot of people who are refugees who have come, some from Somalia, some from Bosnia. I've never heard one of them say that America's a terrible place or be unappreciative of our country. Most of them are thankful. I've met people who've come here from behind the Iron Curtain that got away from communism. They're some of the best Americans we have because they really appreciate how great our country is. And then I hear Representative Omar say, "Oh, America's a terrible place. I thought there'd be justice, and there's no justice here." It's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get. And so while I'm not saying we forcibly send her anywhere, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to go visit Somalia. And I think she could look and maybe learn a little bit about the disaster that is Somalia, that has no capitalism, has no God-given rights guaranteed in a constitution, and has about 7 different tribes that have been fighting each other for the last 40 years. And then maybe after she's visited Somalia for a while, she might come back and appreciate America.
Good morning, everybody. Steve Dryskowski, State Representative from Mazeppa. Today we are asking the Federal Internal Revenue Service and the Minnesota Department of Revenue to review the tax filings of U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar on several grounds. I am joined by 9 Minnesota State Representatives in making these requests, and I think there's 6 here today. These representatives include Glenn Gruenhagen of Glencoe, Eric Lucero of Dayton, Shane Mecklin of Clear Lake, Tim Miller of Princeburg, Linda Runbeck of Circle Pines, Cal Barr of East Bethel, John Poston of Lakeshore, Dwayne Quam of Byron, and Jeremy Munson of Lake Crystal. We are making this request on 3 direct grounds. First, Representative Omar improperly and deliberately filed for a tax status for which she was not qualified, an illegal action in both federal and state law. The Minnesota Campaign Finance Board found on June 6th of this year that she illegally used campaign funds to pay a law firm to review her tax records. The Campaign Finance Board exposed crystal clear probable cause for a tax fraud or tax evasion investigation when they discovered that Representative Omar filed as married and filing jointly with Mr. Ahmad Hersey in 2014 and 2015. During those years, she was legally married to Mr. Ahmad Elmi. Did the illegal filing produce a lower tax liability for the couple? Did her illegal tax filing bring her tax exemption for which she was not legally qualified? Usually people choose the tax filing status that yields them the lowest tax liability. Also, the board shared that the couple filed jointly during 2 specific years. Ilhan Omar and Ahmad Hirsi have been together as a couple for 17 years. Given her record of crimes and violations of so many laws, it may be worth evaluating her claims of status in those other years as well. Second, Representative Omar lived together simultaneously with her first and second husbands at the same addresses in Minnesota and North Dakota in 2009 through 2011. The tax enforcers may need to check if she used an illegal tax filing status and obtained tax deductions, including standard deduction levels for which she was not qualified in those years. Third, we know that Representative Omar took improper kickbacks from 3 Minnesota colleges in 2017 when she oversaw their state budgets in 2017. Under campaign pressure, she returned those kickbacks in 2018. It is worth checking to see if she reported the kickbacks as income in 2017 or deducted the paybacks as expenses in 2018. 5 grounds for an investigation include corruption in public office and tax evasions on grounds of illegal filing status, improper deductions, concealed income from kickbacks, and improper claims for expenses. We are also aware of Representative Omar's pattern of improper conduct. She has been fined by the Campaign Finance Board for diverting campaign funds for an unpermitted political trip to Orlando. She has been directed to pay back her expenses for uncovered political trips to Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Florida, and Washington, D.C. She has been punished for conversion of campaign funds to pay for personal legal and accounting services. She has flouted laws regarding the filing of her personal financial data in a way that distorted the political campaign process. On June 25th, I asked my Congresswoman Angie Craig to launch an investigation into these improprieties. That went nowhere. She said, do it yourself. So on July 23rd, I asked the U.S. House Ethics Committee to investigate Representative Omar. That request is currently being reviewed by the Office of Congressional Ethics. On that same day, I launched OmarTruth.com in an effort to rally Minnesotans and Americans to help bring political pressure to bring about a congressional investigation. After 2 weeks, we have over 44,000 citizens expressing their strong desire to bring about a full investigation, and the list is growing. I will be adding today's request to the facts available on OmarTruth.com. Today, I and 9 other representatives are asking the nonpartisan federal and state tax enforcers to open investigations. We are simply asking them to do their jobs.
I had a member of the Republican caucus threaten my life, and you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Republicans are waging a blatantly Islamophobic and racist attack on Congresswoman Omar. And I've said it before, I will say it again. The white supremacy happening is unbelievable. This is despicable. This is just a bunch of racist gaslighting.
Could it be the way that she looks?
Time is expired.
Could it be her religious practices?
This clearly isn't about what Ilhan Omar said as much as who she is. Being a smart, outspoken black woman of a Muslim faith is apparently the issue.
The GOP is now doing what it is best at, weaponizing hate against a black, beautiful Muslim woman. They turn Congress into a place of fear-mongering hate. It is so painful to watch who you all are, really.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Omar will not be silenced.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
To Omar,
the gentlewoman's time has expired.
That our country is failing you today through this chamber. You belong.
The gentlewoman is no longer.
Well, I am Muslim. I'm an immigrant, and interestingly, from Africa.
Omar is not just a congresswoman. She tells us she is a global citizen, and people around the world celebrate her accomplishments. We don't know what those accomplishments are, but if you listen closely...
Ilhan Omar is out, removed from the Foreign Affairs Committee by a House vote, and the left did not take it quietly. The gavel hit, the resolution passed, and within seconds, the floor turned into a circus, screaming, tears, accusations of white supremacy, speeches about democracy collapsing, all because one congresswoman lost one committee assignment. She still holds her seat, she can still vote, she is still a member of Congress. But the way Democrats reacted, you would have thought she was being deported. Let's be clear about what actually happened here. Kevin McCarthy made a move. Pelosi spent years yanking Republicans off committees when she had the gavel. McCarthy got the gavel. Elections have consequences. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. This is not complicated. This is called accountability. And the accountability argument does not stop at committee assignments. Multiple Minnesota state representatives filed formal requests with the IRS and state revenue authorities to investigate Omar's tax filings. The Minnesota Campaign Finance Board already found she illegally used campaign funds to pay for personal legal services. She was fined for diverting campaign money for an unpermitted trip to Orlando. She was directed to repay expenses for unauthorized political travel to Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Florida, and Washington, D.C. There are questions about whether she filed jointly with a man she was not legally married to while still legally married to someone else. And there are questions about whether she properly reported income from what investigators described as improper kickbacks from Minnesota colleges that she later returned under political pressure. That is the record. That is why Republicans said the removal was justified. But Democrats did not address the record. They called it racism. They called it Islamophobia. They called it white supremacy. One member said her life was threatened, and Republicans rewarded the threatener with a committee seat. Another said this was weaponizing hate against a beautiful Muslim woman. The floor looked less like Congress and more like a reality TV reunion episode. Here's the bottom line. If you want to talk about precedent, the precedent was set when Pelosi removed Republicans. McCarthy matched it. If you want to talk about accountability, Omar has a documented history of campaign finance violations. If you want to talk about the reaction, it was nuclear compared to the action. She lost a committee seat, not her seat, not her voice, one table. The outrage was a performance, and Americans watching at home saw exactly that. Now, I want to hear from you. Was this long overdue accountability, pure political retaliation, or the moment Washington made payback the permanent playbook? Drop your answer in the comments. And be honest, if your party had done this, would you still feel the same way? That is where the real conversation starts. If this opened your eyes, hit like, share this with every patriot you know, and subscribe so you never miss a moment. We are just getting started.